Hi there, I'm Lisa. We met last week during week 1. We're moving into week 2 today. So we're gonna kick things up a little bit. Don't get too worried, it's not gonna be super intense. We're gonna continue working on what we built last week. So that hip opening, that strengthening in the lower body. We are gonna go into a little bit more of an active pose as we move through. That's okay if you're feeling like you need rest at any time. You can always drop a knee, you can take child's pose, you can take that break in between and find your breath again and get back into it. All we want to do here is lengthen out, stretch those muscles that we're tightening up each week as we build up those muscles and just sink into it. Give our body that time to repair and have fun.
Okay, so we're gonna start our week 2 with a little core, get the blood pumping, build that fire in the belly. So we're gonna bend up the knees. You're gonna wanna notice how maybe your lower back is lifting a little bit here. So we want to avoid that, injuring the lower back at all. So can you tuck your tailbone under and really press your lower back down into the mat? And we want to keep that contact at all times so that the core is doing all of the work and we're not compensating with the back. So keeping that lower back pressed down, we're going to lift the legs up as if we're sitting in a chair. And then the fingers will interlace behind the head, and we want to let the head just hang heavy in the hands so we're not holding any tension in the neck here. Notice if your lower back is lifting, press it back down. Really engage that core. And then we're just gonna begin to ride the bike here. So taking an inhale, we lengthen one leg, draw that left knee in. Exhale to switch. And so you can take this as quick or as slow as works for your body. There's a couple modifications here to make it a little easier or a little harder. So if you're feeling like this is a lot, you can always make it a little easier by really lifting those legs up high in the air, rather than extending them forward. If you're looking for a little more, extend those legs long, just hovering above the earth. So really just taking it at your own speed here, finding what works for you. We just want to build that fire in the core. And notice if you're holding your breath, continue to breathe here. Let your movements follow your breath, inhaling to lengthen, exhaling to come back in.
Okay, so we're gonna be working on downward dog next. This is a great jumping off point for a lot of yoga poses. So you're gonna see this come up throughout the weeks. And if you don't get it perfect, that's okay. Yoga is not about being perfect. We're gonna have a lot of opportunity to practice. So we're gonna start from hands and knees, finding a tabletop position here. Very important to spread the fingers wide, so we want the entire palm pressed into the mat. Then we're gonna curl the toes under and send the hips up and back. So we don't wanna just lift, we also wanna press our weight back. So we want to feel like we've got magnets in our heels, pulling them down toward the mat. Then send your heart back toward your legs. And very important to let the head just hang heavy here. So we don't want to hold any tension in the neck, just let the head be heavy. Really press into the palms, roll the shoulders away from the ears. We don't want our ears or our shoulders to creep up by our ears. And feel that stretch in the hamstrings. If your hamstrings are feeling really tight here, you can always bring a micro bend into the knees. You might even walk your dog out, bend into one knee and then the other, and just give your body time to lengthen here. Our hamstrings are most likely quite tight after running so much, so take that time. Sink into your downward dog. Okay, moving into our high lunge. So we're gonna take a stance at the top of the mat here, and we're gonna take a big step back with the right leg. So you're gonna find the distance that works for you here. What we wanna focus on is being high on those back toes. So if you feel like your heel is coming toward the mat, maybe take a little bit wider of a stance and then lean forward. We also wanna focus on having our knee right over our ankle here. So not coming forward, or not back, just finding that long line. And you're gonna notice your hips maybe wanna open a little bit here. Can you press that right hip forward, hug the left hip back. So shoulders and hips are facing forward. When you found that stability in your lower body, take an inhale, arms sweep up overhead. Let the shoulders melt back down the back body. Lift the heart, maybe even lifting the gaze a little bit. If you're having trouble with your balance here, find a spot maybe on the ground in front of you, maybe straight ahead, and really focus your gaze there. And as you exhale, maybe you can sink a little bit deeper into that lunge. Really feel the strength in your quad here. Feel the stretch in your right leg. Keep breathing. Coming into our extended side angle, we're gonna start standing at the top of the mat, and then we're gonna take a big step back with the left foot. So we did Warrior 2 last week. So this is set up a lot like Warrior 2, front heel intersecting the arch of the back foot. Arms are gonna come out to a T and we're gonna sink into that front knee. This time we're gonna bend up the front elbow and place it on the knee. Then drawing a half circle with that back arm. It's coming all the way in front and then stopping here. So this one is all about long line. So we're creating a really long line from that back heel to the fingertips as you reach forward. And we want to really plant that back foot into the mat. So feel that foundation. And you might want to lift your gaze here. Often we notice we sink in. Where your gaze goes, your body will want to follow. So feel your heart really opening up as you lift your gaze. And we've got a couple options here. We might keep our elbow here, or if you're looking for a little more, you might reach those fingertips down to the mat. And you can use your elbow to press your knee open here. Feel that deep stretch on your inner thigh. Again, the gaze can lift and allow yourself to sink into that lunge. Okay, we're gonna work on our lizard pose. So we've done a lot of hip opening up to this point. We're gonna really intensify that hip opening here. That being said, take your time as you move into it. We don't wanna bring any damage into the hips or into the knees. Really listen to your body. So we're gonna come into a tabletop position here. And then we're gonna bring that left leg up beside the hands here. So both hands are planted on the inside edge of that foot. And then we're just gonna lengthen that back leg out a little bit. So we're in a low lunge here. So left knee is stacked right over the ankle here. And we're gonna just sink into our space here. So if this is feeling like this is your depth, that's okay. Stay here and just focus on your breath. If you're feeling like you have a little more space to sink in, you might begin to melt down. Maybe you've got a block and you can bring your forearms onto the block. Maybe this is good for you. If you're feeling like you have more space still, you can lose that block and you can sink right down onto the earth with the forearms. So everyone's depth is gonna be different, that's okay. Focus on letting yourself sink in. So once you've found that depth, let your head hang heavy and bring your breath into your hips. Inhales, create space. Exhale, sink into that space. Coming into our last pose, we are coming into a seated wide-legged forward fold. So you're gonna take your legs just as wide as feels good for you. So you're gonna wanna feel a little bit of a stretch on the inner thighs here, but not too much of a pulling, no pain. So you're gonna notice your toes might be splaying inward. We want to really flex those feet, toes point up to the sky, and keep holding your toes there as we begin to fold forward. This is what's gonna create that stretch on the inner thighs, on the hamstrings. Okay, so taking an inhale, lift the body, lengthen the spine. Exhale, we're just walking those fingertips forward, keeping length in the spine. So keep drawing your shoulders back as you hinge from the waist. Once you've found your depth, then let your head fall forward, sinking into that space. Again, notice the toes, we wanna keep them pointing up. We wanna keep drawing the heart forward rather than letting it round forward. Take an inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, sink in a little bit deeper. Good. All right, we're done week 2 of our yoga. You guys are doing amazing. Notice if you're feeling tight. Really bring your awareness to those areas throughout the week and maybe continue to stretch those areas out, really focus on that muscle. Drink a lot of water, hydrate yourself. Have a good day.